Hello, everyone. To go straight ahead onto the topic, which is language acquisition. All right, as you know, I'm Zaki. I'm from Egypt. My first language is Arabic, and I've been learning English since I was a kid. And now I'm learning Chinese. And also learned some German in college when I was studying there in the institute. Okay, so Dr. Stephen Krashen talks about comprehensible input, that if you, as a student, are interested in the subject or whatever you're learning, you are happy, there's no pressure, there's fun environment, then you will acquire the language if the input is comprehensible. So many teachers or many students that want to be teachers, they just don't know what does it mean comprehensible. I learned a good thing in storytelling, which is show not tell. So I'm going to show you today how to make the input comprehensible. All right. So for example, here we go. Let me just show it to you here. All right. If you have any comments or anything, you just let me know. So before I show you how to make it comprehensible, let's just say how I learned Chinese. So I learned Chinese by repetition. The question is, do you remember what you learned Chinese language? Yes, most of it. The sentences that are repetitive or that I repeat them more, those are the ones that stay in my brain for a long time. And when I say repetition, I don't mean like do it like in one day and a lot of hours and make it like boring task. No, just for fun. Just you can walk in the street talking to yourself, try to point at things, and then try to imagine what it would be in Chinese. And then you can write down, I want to know the word, because every day you walk in the same street, you see the same thing. So if you know the meaning of a tree in the Chinese language, would be better, right? If you know the street, what does it mean in the Chinese language or the language you're learning would be better because you every day you walk on the street. Every day you go to supermarket, every day so these are the essential words that you should learn first. So to learn words and to make them memorable, that's the most important thing because many people learn new words, and they forget them, right? They just go from HSK1 to 2, 3, and then they forgot what they learned in HSK1. Or they learning English, they go to level 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they forgot most of part 1. Why we forget? This is natural process because first maybe we just study for no purpose or we just study for exams. So there's a lot of pressure. So the two absolute values, too much pressure, no learning, and no care or no purpose, also usually will not learn. What I mean by there's no purpose, that you don't care if you learn or not. Actually, I'll tell you something. If I show you a picture, let me show you a picture right now, and I'll just tell you how beautiful your mind is. All right. So I'm gonna get a picture now because I know that your mind, your brain is amazing. When I tell you see something, your brain will see it, right? So the first time you look at something, you will not see many things. You might see only things that you are interested in. Once I tell you, hey, look, there's something out there, your brain will start to realize that there's something out there. Do you want to have a test? All right. Look at this picture. Tell me what you see. Many people will look at the sharp objects or things that have beautiful colors and sharp looking. So many people will say, well, I see two people, two couples. They are using a laptop. The man is lying his hand on the laptop, putting his hand there. They have some brochures or flyers. They maybe want to go out there, traveling or something. Some people will see the apples, different colors, but nobody notices there's a boy down there. Your eyes now see that there's a boy. But the first time you did not see this boy, right? Now you see it. Now you realize that you see it. And when you realize you see it, your brain, if I told you what's in this picture now, your brain will automatically say, oh, and there's a boy at the back. This is how beautiful your brain is. That this is part of remembering and part of forgetting. So you remember what you were interested in, what you like. So if you are a beginner, I mean, that's could be a struggling time. So how can we make the input comprehensible? So most people say show pictures. All right. If I show just if I say apples, and I show you apples, you will definitely understand what that means, right? Because it's something that you see in the market. All right. But if you're not interested about a, a certain brand car, and I show you BMW, all right, you don't know the brand. You will know, oh, this is a car, okay, but you don't know the brand. You don't know information about the brand. So you are not able to talk about the brand, or you're not able to talk about the car itself. So language happens when we learn through things that are related to us. So if you don't care about car and someone talks about car, you're not like, I'm sorry, I just don't understand what he is saying, because you're not exposed, you haven't exposed yourself to content that talks about cars. If you learn English, or children, when we teach English to children or to adults, we have curriculums specifically designed for this, to make language comprehensible. Let me show you a sample of Oxford curriculum to children, and let's see how it is designed to be comprehensible. Here's a sample. All right. The first thing that you see here is the color of the book. The book is colorful, designed for kids. You see here the units, and you see here pictures. You see body language, movement. Um, you will hear some voices, right? And all right, the teachers usually try to help the students by pointing, like, "Hi, I'm Zaki, and you." So using the body language, using pictures, all this help to make the input comprehensible, the language comprehensible, and start to use what the student already knows, right? His name, his age, his country, simple things like that. Start with the beginning, and then take it from there, and then continue, all right, and teach them the other things. Listen, point, count, talk, ask, answer. Your body language talks a lot, okay? So when we want to make the input comprehensible, we talk about pictures, talk about videos, short videos. We'll talk about uh, colors. We'll talk about body language. We'll talk about um, uh, using scaffolding, which means don't teach hard things and start with grammar and say the present simple talks about this. This is information. It doesn't work that well with kids. Kids like always to learn through indirect way. When you tell them this and this and that, this is information. It's like you're telling their memory, hey, memorize that. Memorize that. Their memory will memorize part of what you say, probably for exams. Probably for exams. And once its exams are finished, they'll forget everything. Remember that in your native language, the grammar was not that important, right? Because you just picked up the language by people talking to you in the street, in the market. people around you, listening a lot, reading a lot. So two things to make the language comprehensible, or what should we do then? We should listen a lot and should read a lot. What should we listen, right? Okay, look for something called graded learning, because you're not a native speaker of English, so you're not exposed to the language like 24 hours a day. And this is why it's really hard to understand things faster. So it takes more time for non-native speakers to be somehow like native speakers. Why? Because of the time. You're living in a country that does not speak English. So most of the time, you just learn English twice a week, 3 times a week. That's very little time. And most people say it takes up to 1,200 hours to reach like advanced level of English, of an instruction, like a course. So how can we make the input comprehensible? What things can help? Okay, things that can help: watching movies with English subtitles in the beginning. After your listening skills get better, start to watch without subtitles. Um, Grammar should be indirect, like asking questions and answers, talk, conversations. It's good for adults sometimes to tell them why. Focus on the meaning rather than the forms and the grammars and the the negatives and the positives, the questions. It's okay, fine, it's cool, okay, but focus your class on the meaning. Why we use the present simple? It talks about this and this and this. So when the students want to talk about something, he knows what tense he uses because he understands it. Native speakers may or may not understand the tense itself, so they make a lot of grammar mistakes, and I saw this by my eyes. So only teachers, I mean, they will probably a habit that we will avoid making mistakes. However, we make mistakes, all right? But those mistakes are very few and do not affect the meaning. Native speakers, the same thing. We make mistakes in our native language. That's fine. That's why I'm saying the main idea is the meaning. So when you teach anything or when we learn anything, we focus on the meaning. So language acquisition happens through ESPRR. This method I developed by myself, right? And I call it that way because it's just a mix of many approaches. Okay. So what's this thing or what's this approach, whatever. So I'm not like a linguist or I'm not really good with definitions and words, but this helped me to learn Chinese. So exposure, meaning that watch a lot of movies and series, and the second time you watch them, you need to watch them multiple times. The first time, watch, enjoy, don't focus on learning. The second time you watch, learn something. Maybe take 5 minutes from this movie and start learning something, vocabulary, for example, or even pronunciation. Repeat after the actors in some scene. I until now I remember some of the scenes from Lion King, some lines I remember because of repetition, because I used the movie for many children, and then I use another movie and so on. So this kind of repetition helped me to be an actor. Like um in the very beginning of the movie, Scar was saying to the no, not rabbit. There was something else. Rat, yeah, or mice, whatever you call it. Life's not fair, isn't it, my little friend? Some were born to feast, others spend their life in the dark, begging for scraps. You and I, you and I are the same. We're trying to find a way out. The first time I was trying to say this, it was really hard to say, it took time. The second time, it is a little bit easier, and so on and so on. So the first time you do something, it will be hard, for sure. The second time, easier, easier, easier. So that's repetition. I know someone who went to the conversation program, at the American Embassy in Cairo. There was a culture program, so like a conversation with native speakers every week from the US. So this person, his level was kind of a beginner, and he there's like a movie there, uh, TV screen. You can watch movies and you can see the subtitles and everything. His level was kind of upper beginner, like someone who just finished the basics. And he made a lot of mistakes in grammar. And every time he goes there, he watch movies, movies, movies. And then he started to talk to people there, even before the event, the main event, which took time, like 1 hour with the native speaker. After like a few months, and only a few months, like 3 or 4, his language has improved significantly. I mean, how that even possible? I was like amazed by how he has improved. Yes, it's repetition. Yes, it's watching movie with subtitles and sometimes without. All right. So exposure is important. Study is what I'm saying. All right. You should study something after you enjoy watching, understanding some or parts. Because if you're a beginner, you will understand. Yeah, he want to get married, and you'll get understanding the main idea. After you understand the main idea, try to study for 1 or 5 minutes. Study. You can study grammar. You can repeat some sentences for pronunciation. Study something. Then practice. You need to speak with someone every day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And if you don't have one, speak to yourself. How can you speak to yourself? Pick up some bits and pieces, some language from the movie, understand the meaning first, and then repeat those sentences. So I do this with the Chinese. Let me show you how I do this with the Chinese. If you are good with technology, you'll do better than Google Translate. But let's just start with the basics. Like let's say some basics in Chinese. Example, 你好, right? Let me show you. 你叫什么名字？我叫扎克。Or like Zaki, I mean Zaki, which is Jaka. Or 我现在说英语，我在，我不在，我不在，我喜欢你，你喜欢我，你喜欢我吗？对吧？ Yeah. So number one is learning pronunciation, and you should study pronunciation. You should take a course on phonetics, not for college exams, but for making your pronunciation really, really good because it's the main thing that you can help other people to understand you, or they will understand you, even if you make grammar mistakes, even if you choose the wrong words. But if your pronunciation is wrong, whatever you do is just zero. So first pronunciation, then words, sentences, and repetition. So practice every day, speak and write. Speak more than you write. Writing help with language acquisition? It does, but not the main. Um, some people even learn without writing. But I say if you are a beginner, write 1 page every day, useful sentences, and make sure that you understand the meaning. That's practice through speaking and writing. Then we have revision, of course, because we forget. So I write, here's my notebook, SpongeBob notebook, and I write there some sentences like 你吃了吗？我没有，我没有吃。你好久不见。 and so on. So I write here some sentences, the Chinese characters, the opinion, and the English translation. After some time, you can test your memory by not looking on the translation and try to guess what that means. Okay? You can do revision in multiple ways. All right. I do revision in my English course by I teach English, so I do revision. So I give them, we already learned the words. So I taught them words. And then, of course, the pronunciation of the words first, they repeat, then they learn the words. I tell them the definition, and then I tell them examples, and then we have a story, and a storytelling, one of the best way for learning languages, short stories, like 1 page. Now he learned the words. The second class, I tell him, okay, what does this word mean? I give him the word he learned before. Some people remember most of the words, like 90%, some people don't. So I help. If he doesn't, I help. This helping is part of the language acquisition. So his mind will try to remember what he was learning before. Once he just go and make some sentence, okay, use this word in a sentence of your own. If he can't use the word in sentence of his own, this means that his grammar is weak. So we try to fix the grammar mistakes and build the more accurate sentences somehow. So I tell him, use this word want. So he say want. I want to play. Okay, very short sentence. I want to play. He uses the word he learns or she learns. Very important. This is revision. You can do by small tests, but no grades like fail or pass. Just the effective filter that Dr. Stephen Krashen talks about it. If you make the environment in your classroom very itchy and students feel anger or feel anxious of the exams and the results, the learning will be very, very like somehow zero. And this is the proof that we have been learning language as a subject in a school and universities, and we don't speak English. I did not speak English because I learned English in school or even university. I speak English now because I do it with fun. I learn from teaching. Teaching teaches you from movies and series and radio and many things. Revision is super important. Not for memorizing, but just to remember something. Okay. After some time, this information will move from your conscious to subconscious and to the longer memory. The memory that can take this information for a long time. And I call the recall. Recall is like trying to say something that you studied before. The first time you do this, it takes much time. You think in your native language. You think in Arabic or your native language. And then, I know, this happens. Once you do repetition, this recall short time, I would say the translation time becomes very little. It's normal for language acquisition the first time. To recall information takes time. So the more you practice and repeat, 现在我可以说一点中文，但是我中文不好，因为我明天不是学习中文。So I want to say that, well, I speak a little bit of Chinese, although my Chinese is not good because I don't learn like every day much, right? And if a Chinese person listens to what I'm saying, he will understand, even if I make mistakes in Chinese language, it's fine. He still understands the main idea you're trying to say, and that's the main idea of language acquisition. We just want to understand each other. We want to communicate. I know that when you are a professor, your language should be more than just someone in the street. you should be higher level of vocabulary and so on. So yeah, if you are a president, if you are on a stage, so yeah, I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about the natural approach to language acquisition. So revision is a very important part. And which is more important than all this is repetition. Without repetition, we will not remember. So how repetition happens, I do it through something called like recycle. Like when you recycle plastic, you try to use it again, right? To put it in the machine and then becomes some liquid, and then you take the liquid again and make something else after you clean it, of course. Recycle. So recycle is another revision that I use the same words but in a question. All right, like, do you want to play? Do you want to play? Now I use want to play in a question. And instead of I want to play, I make it do you. That's recycle, using the same language again and again and again in different way, different sentences, and then try to put new words, just a little bit new words. This is what we call I plus one, which is the input plus something new. Because if you just learn the same thing every time, your level will be the same thing. It will not improve. In order for your level to improve, you need to put something which is plus one. All right. So how can you do this? Do you want to play chess or Xbox? Whatever. Chess or Xbox is plus one. So this one is already in the memory of the person, which is the previous things he learned, the I. And plus one, where is plus one? Chess or Xbox. This is what we call plus one. I, what he already knows, plus something new. All right. So this kind of repetition or recycle is very important. Repetition is also important, and I use repetition to learn, and I use recycle. You can do this with grammar. You can do this with vocabulary, like using the same grammar, and change some words, like changing some words. For example, I want to play. You can use the same structure. I want to swim. So what changed? Play becomes swim. Now you will remember I want to. Why? Because you repeat it. So you can repeat the same grammar and change words, or you can use the same words and change grammar. So of course, the student should understand through pictures and videos and all the stuff. So this is a mix of many approaches, communicative approach, many things. All right. Well, I hope this podcast is useful and you learned a lot from it. Share it to your friends. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can help me make more videos of these if you're interested. And if you have any questions about language acquisition, or even how I learn Chinese or any language, I speak Arabic, English fluently, and I'm learning Chinese, and I learned some German in college. And I really like learning languages. So if you have any questions or any problems you face, write in the comments and I'll try to help. Thanks for watching. See you next class. Bye.